What's up, guys? Welcome to Whisky. My name is Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around at the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below, and with that out of the way, let's jump into our review. Today we're looking at the Loch Lomond 12-year-old. Stick around. Okay, so this is actually a re-review. I have looked at this whiskey before, the Loch Lomond 12, and it's a whiskey that's gotten a lot of momentum, I want to say, over the last 2 years or so. It's become a pretty big hit with a lot of enthusiasts, and that actually makes sense. Loch Lomond is well known for having a pretty dirty profile, and most enthusiasts are dirty people, so that does track. It's famous for having a very petroleum, sort of like machine oil type profile. A lot of people say this is a good alternative to Springbank. Personally, I don't really see it that way, but I do get where they're coming from. So this is a core range expression. It's widely available. It's affordable. Again, it makes sense. Now, only 8% of the contributing malt here was peated at 25 ppm, so it's a very low peat level. Matured in 10% first fill bourbon, 10% recharred American oak barrels or hogsheads, and 80% refill American oak hogsheads. By the way, credit to Loch Lomond and their master blender, Michael Henry. You don't get a lot of production info from the box or the bottle. You get a little bit on the website, but not much. But Michael Henry is always willing to reach out to people who are talking about his whiskey, reviewers, vloggers, bloggers, whatever, and give them the full breakdown, the full production methods. And that's nice to know. Very few people in the industry do that, so that's appreciated. Anyway, the last time that I looked at Loch Lomond 12, I believe I scored at 84, which is a good score, but it's not a great score. And to be honest, I didn't really see what all the fuss was about. Now, I thought it was a solid whiskey. I thought it was good, definitely characterful, but it wasn't something that I got excited about personally. Now, if I weren't such an honest and truly wonderful person, I might be disingenuous and say that I came back to this whiskey because so many people swear by it, and I really trust my audience's opinion, and they told me to give it a second chance, so I did. But that's not the case. It was on sale. I mean, of course, I do trust you guys, but that's not the why. It was cheap. But motivations aside, I've got it now. I'm coming back to it with an open mind. I fully intend on giving this one a fair squeeze. So let's jump into the review and see where I land on it. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. For specs, this one comes in at 46% ABV. It is non-chill filtered. It is a colored whiskey though, so we have 2 out of 3, which fine, it's not ideal, but it's also a very affordable whiskey, so I'm not going to sweat it. So I've never been a huge fan of the Loch Lomond look. Apparently there's a new bottle out, and that one looks like that. Although I've never seen this look in the wild yet. So what we've got here with this one, I think it's fine. I've never loved the stag look. The red label, I guess, is okay. Not interesting, not offensive. 2.5 out of 5. This stuff does say that it's non-chill filtered. Of course, they're not going to brag about being a colored whiskey. They won't say so unless they're obliged to for certain markets. Again, not a huge trade secret how this stuff is made, but they don't share any of that on the label here. I imagine most average consumers don't really care, but it'd still be nice to have it there. On the nose, we've got the classic grubby Loch Lomond profile. We get stuff like petroleum, rubber, tar, caramel, honey. There's vanilla in here. There's some gentle peat, and there's some sweet red apples, like golden delicious apples. It's nice. On the palate and finish, we initially get a very nice mouth coating texture. It is quite oily. I get stuff like machine oil, caramel, honey, sultanas, some herbal elements. There's also ginger ale, vanilla, and salt. It's a medium finish. Okay, so this is good. It does what people say it's going to do. It gives us that classic dirty Loch Lomond profile. I get the petroleum and the machine oil and the tar and the gentle peat and the industrial notes. It's characterful, and it is going to tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people. However, yet, be that as it may, this is not my style of whiskey, and it really should be. On paper, it should be. I like the gentle peat. I like the dirty notes. I like a lot of what's happening in this whiskey. And also, I remember I bought that first bottle of Loch Lomond 12 because I'd heard a lot of people say it's a great alternative to stuff like Springbank. And of course, when you hear that, you want to jump on it, you want to try it out. For me, it isn't though. As I said, this is a very characterful whiskey. It is a dirty whiskey, but if you look at Springbank, Springbank goes in a more malty, craft, farmy direction, whereas this one goes in a more industrial direction. I would say Springbanks are a little bit more complex, more sophisticated, and the flavors are just too different. Really, it's just not a fair comparison. If we start with something like price, this is going to be much cheaper than even the cheapest Springbank at its original price. If you want to look at flavor, aside from sharing some general traits like it's a dirty whiskey, as far as I'm concerned, the flavors don't have very much to do with Springbank. So I really think it's best to approach Loch Lomond on its own. I think the Springbank comparison does a disservice to the brand. So if we do that, if we approach this as its own thing, I think this is a solid whiskey. I don't think it's a great whiskey, but I do think it's a solid whiskey. And what it's got going for it is what other Loch Lommonds have going for it. I've said this in previous reviews. This whiskey has lots and lots of personality. Just loaded with character, especially if you look at the price point. Now, whether or not you connect with that character is a different story. A lot of you won't. But for the price point, you're not going to find something with this much personality. A lot of affordable whiskeys, budget-friendly whiskeys, they'll be fine, perfectly drinkable, sippable, even enjoyable. But this has balls. So if you want something with balls in your mouth, So if you want a whiskey with some heft behind it, some punchy flavors, a little bit of weight there, I think this is a great option. Like I said, it's not my preferred style. But if you do like Loch Lomond, if you're a fan of that house style, this whiskey is going to do everything that you need it to. Another thing I like about this stuff is that it never really gets too sweet. I am kind of sensitive to whiskeys that are overly sweet. This one does have quite a forward caramel note, but it doesn't get that sweet. In fact, it's quite salty in here as well. I'd probably say it's about as salty as it is sweet, so I kind of like that interaction, I suppose. The texture is good. Again, oily mouth coating, so it does have a lot going on. So this is a bit of a weird one because on the one hand, like I keep saying, it's not my kind of character, it's not my preferred profile, but I've also got a lot of nice things to say about it. At the end of the day, I'm going to land on 84 for this, which is the same score I gave it last time, which means I just did a whole ass review and I scripted it and I shot it and everything, and I just talked for 8 minutes to come to the exact same conclusion I came to, a year ago when I last talked about it. But such is life. So yeah, anyway, buy this stuff if you're a fan of Loch Lomond. Buy it if you're a fan of like weird, dirty, funky whiskeys. Whiskeys like this are always kind of fun. You could do a comparison to like music or something where this would not be your mainstream music. This would be more genre, kind of defies convention, doesn't really have the mass appeal, but clearly very good quality. So I've said this before, I'm shit at analogies, but you do get the point, and it's decent stuff, so recommend it. Okay, I think this is a great value whiskey. It's quite cheap, it's quite affordable. I paid about 33 US or just over 26 pounds for this. I think it's great, very characterful stuff. Thing is, I just said this, it doesn't have mass appeal. I think a lot of people will get behind it, but there's going to be a lot of people who don't really connect with it. I'm one of them, and I still managed to like it, but that might not be you. Thing is, though, nothing quite tastes like Loch Lomond, so even if you don't love it, it will kind of broaden your flavor experience, whatever you want to call it, and it's not going to break the bank, so worth picking up. Alright, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to help support the channel, I do have the Patreon. Otherwise, you can like, comment, and subscribe. That's always appreciated. Of course, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried Loch Lomond 12? What are your thoughts? You can let me know down below. Also, below in the comments, you can tell me what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.